Yeah, I think for me, when it came time to start rendezvous, I think everyone's got, stories. And I think that's what I'm really into. I think I'm into telling stories and I'm into hearing people's stories. And I think part of my story was I grew up in a Christian home, grew up in a pastor's home. And in my teenage kind of years, I felt myself kind of running from that calling, kind of running from maybe what maybe was supposed to be my legacy, what maybe the custom of our home, our traditions, what I was taught, maybe what I believed about God. I found myself kind of rejecting it. And at 17 years of age, I was actually traveling with my dad to Australia. He was speaking at an event. And I just had this, what I would call a God encounter, really just this moment where I felt like I understood why I was put on this planet. I felt like I had this moment where God spoke to me and said, man, how are you going to run from your calling? And it was probably, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks after that point that I found myself preaching my first sermon at 17 years of age. And the journey just began. I don't know if it's because we do one thing well or not. I think that there's a lot of things I've always wanted to do in life. I found myself doing this thing, and I found myself leaning into it. I think whenever you put 2 feet down on the ground, and whenever you give your full attention, your full focus to something, it's pretty amazing to see how God can make up the difference. And I think one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible, there's this part in the Bible says, my grace is sufficient for you, for even when you're weak, I am strong, is what the Lord says. And the word sufficient is an interesting word because it means it's adequate for its purpose. The word adequate is an even more interesting word because it means just the right amount. Essentially what God says to us is that His grace is just the right amount for our purpose. And I think the encouragement for me is realizing that God's given me grace for my race. He hasn't given me grace for somebody else's race. He hasn't given me grace to run in somebody else's lane. I've got to run the lane that He's called me to. I think when you do that, it's pretty amazing to see how He makes up the difference. Even when you're weak, He's still strong. I think everybody's got challenges for sure. Not just being a Christian, but I think anyone who wants to be in leadership is going to face real challenges. I think 90% of leadership, let's be honest, is frustration. Because being a leader means that you're seeing something that not everybody else is seeing. I don't really know if I'm completely original. I think the journey of authenticity is the one that we're all on. I think when you become authentic, you discover your identity. I think for me, I'm 4 generations of preacher. I think I'd be crazy to say at 31 years of age that I'm completely original. Sometimes people, I think, when they're young, they want to be a voice too soon. I think it's okay to be an echo before you become a voice. But as you're an echo, what you'll discover is before you know it, you start to find your voice, you start to find your rhythm. I was watching the other day with some of my little nieces. I don't have any kids, but I was watching the other day The Lion King. And I remember that scene when Simba is trying to work on his roar. And as a little kid, it's kind of like, pre-puberty. It's not really roaring much, but as he grows into a man, he starts to roar. It's his own authentic roar. And I just think life is about continuing to swing. And as you continue to swing, and as you try to stay true to the thing that you've been called to, what you'll discover is you start to walk in authenticity, start to walk in who you are uniquely called to be. Hey, this is Rich Wilkerson Jr. from VOO Church here in Miami, Florida, and I am a thrasher.